Hello, hello, and welcome back to the Pure Nintendo podcast. My name is Jemma, and this week I have quite a robust crew with me. I have, who has been MIA last week? I have Trev. Welcome back, Trev.
Yeah, glad to be back.
I have the Korok's best friend. I have Kirk. Welcome back, Kirk.
It's good to be here. It's good to have friends.
Yes, indeed. And I have the power couple of Justin and Katie. Welcome back, Justin and Katie.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. And we're going to spend another decent amount of time talking about Tears of the Kingdom this week before we get into some other games that are out very soon or coming up that we're excited about. So let's kick things off with a bit of a Tears of the Kingdom recap of the week. Now, Trev, since you weren't with us last week, we'd love to know where you're at with the game because you were pretty far ahead of us after week 1. Where are you at now after week 3 now, I think?
Well, if you go by just sheer hours, it seems like I should be out in front because I checked this afternoon and it was about 120.
Wow.
But you got to keep in mind, unlike Justin and Katie, Jen and I are sharing a copy. And even though we do a lot of it, together, we play as a couple, there's certain things Jen will do on her own, cooking or just, some of the secondary quests. So, that number is a little misleading. But also, unlike Justin, I have not beaten the game, even though I'm well ahead of him in just sheer hours. So,
yeah,
I kind of get distracted like you, Jemma, I guess.
Yeah, that's definitely something that happens to me a lot. I still haven't even made it to a dungeon yet. I keep seeing the yellow circles, the regional phenomena.
Well, at least I've done dungeons.
I think about it, but this week I've just really been concentrating on sky towers, shrines, and geoglyphs. That's been my focus, and I've done a lot this week, and it's been really fun. I wanted to say actually because last week was such a fun discussion, and as I've been playing this week, I've been finding things that we talked about, and I'll be like, "Oh, Justin mentioned that. That's the sky tower with the goop at the front. I remember him saying that." So it's been really fun because I've been discovering all these things. And it's just been triggering those memories that we talked about last week. And we said after the show, actually, I think we said this, it was a bit like talking at school, with friends, like, oh, this is, what have you done in the game? Where are you up to in the game? And the tips and tricks that we talked about. So I think that helped during the week just to feel a bit more camaraderie while you're playing. Because you're playing I'm playing by myself. You guys have partners who are playing with you. But I'm playing alone, and I'm like, oh, this is reminding me of what, Kirk said about the Koroks. And so, yeah, it's been a fun week. And I'm just trying to knock over all those things before I actually get serious and into the dungeons. So, but, as Trev alluded to, Justin has finished the game. Would you like to give us a bit of a recap? We won't give any spoilers away, obviously, but what have you got for us?
Yeah. So I was blitzing through the game. I wanted to see more dungeons, right? So I was like, oh, let's go to the next one. So I kept cruising through. There was a couple big roadblocks that I met along the way where I was like, I probably should have more heart containers or more. So there were. Definitely don't do what I did, but yeah, and I had to just, there were certain boss battles that I had to just kind of grind through a little bit. And some of it was just like, oh yeah, I do want to finish this. And then I was like, oh, I'm already fully into this area. Yes, I can warp out, but to cook some things or do some other prep work. But I was like, but I'm already all the way in here. Maybe if I can just, memorize the boss moves and eventually get good at the flurry rush. And so that's what I did on some of them. There was one boss I basically had to do just all flurry rushes. Like if I got hit, I could only get hit twice and I would die. So I just, so don't do that. But
that sounds stressful.
Yeah, it was a bit of self-inflicted pain there of like.
Did you have Katie's support? Was she watching you? Were you watching Katie?
She was watching. She was. It was mostly disdain. Or like, what are you doing? Why are you? But man, I will say, yeah. Before you, after the dungeons, there's there's another. There's a couple things you'll do after that prior to going to Ganondorf.
Right.
So just definitely be have plenty of hearts. Like, so I finished the game at just like 12 hearts and 2 full stamina gauges.
Yeah.
So yeah, do more than that. I think you can have 40 hearts. I think is
wow.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, that's a lot.
So I think they've got 40 heart containers, 20 per line. But and I didn't upgrade my armor or anything, so I do that as well. Anyways, so this is all just cautionary tale. This is Justin beat it, but he beat it in.
Well, I mean, it means you must be a pretty good player. Like, you're pretty hardcore, obviously, going in, sword swinging with, merely 12 hearts, and coming out on top. So
it was pretty fun. Like, you're like, oh yeah, I finally like getting the flurry rushes down and the perfect dodges. Like that was satisfying. But it was, oh man, there two of the boss battles were just very, very frustrating. more frustrating than they could have been. I'm not going to hold it again. I'm not going to hold that against them.
Yeah. And so, Katie, how close are you to finishing compared to Justin? Did you finish it also?
Oh no, I'm only 3 dungeons in, and I'm doing the slow like get all the hearts, get all the armor and the memories before I even think about Ganondorf.
Well, you're still 3 dungeons ahead of me, so that's pretty. And what about you, Kirk? How's your travels been this week?
Actually, it's kind of funny you should say travels. It occurred to me at one point that I had unlocked maybe about 2 or 3 of the stables. I've just been flying everywhere, and I thought, I'm pretty sure I should have more stables unlocked at this point because they're like quests that involve them. So towards the end of this week, I decided I'm not going to do anything except hop on a horse and just ride down the road. So I've been taking like a scenic tour of Hyrule on my horse and hitting all the stables.
Cool.
So that's where I'm at. I kind of put everything else on hold.
Nice. How many did you end up finding?
I'm not done yet. I've done like an exterior like lap around it, and now I got to do the interior. So I don't maybe about 7.
Wow.
6,
does anyone know how many stables there are? Is there one in each kind of region? Maybe.
I would imagine you'd think there would be at least one for every tower, right?
There's an awful lot because one of the side quests we're doing. In fact, that's one of the things Jen does on her own because I got sick of it. It's like I'm sick of going to every single stable. They seem never ending. So I don't have a number, but there's a ton.
Yeah, there are quite a few. I found a few, maybe 6 or so. I'm not sure. I haven't sought them out like Kirk or Trev, I guess, with quests, or Jen at least. I've just seemed to find them randomly. So, yeah. But speaking of horses, and I wanted to talk about some kind of interesting / humorous things that we've seen during the week, whether online or ourselves. And I only learned this morning, so I haven't had a chance to try it. But apparently people are trapping horses with boxes. They're like creating boxes, ultra handing boxes together, and with a long stick attached to it, and then using that like a little fishing pole, but for horses. And they're like trapping the horses in a box, and then it doesn't run away from you. So,
that's pretty funny.
Yeah, I just didn't even think about that. I'm just like, oh, okay. So I'm guessing none of us have tried this. No.
I've been kicked by horses, and
yeah,
I did find out you can make some horse meat, but that was accidental. I did not deliberately go out to kill a horse. It was a freak accident.
My gosh!
That involved fire. But the good news is, if it's with fire, it cooks it right there on the spot, so you don't have to try it.
I don't even want to know what it's called when it's cooked. But I think when I was
like chicken.
I think I was chasing a horse. There's a midnight black kind of horse that I really want to catch, and he seems harder than the others. I jumped on him a few times, and he just bucks me right off. And one of my sons was watching me do this, and he's like, "Just shoot it." I'm like, "No, I'm not going to shoot a horse. What?" I didn't even know you could, but apparently you can at least burn them. Trev says.
You can freeze them too.
Really?
It sounds cool. It's actually very helpful because you freeze them and then get behind them and just spam A, so that when that ice wears off, you're immediately on their back and ready to try to tame them.
Well,
So easier than building a box.
I think so. Yes, I can see that being a lot quicker time-wise. Have you tried this, Kirk? Has it worked for you?
While freezing them did.
Cool.
The one I froze was a little too advanced for me, I think, and he eventually kicked me off. But better to learn that, I think, than trapped in a box with them, where they're just going to kick you until you're dead, probably.
Yeah, it does seem to have flaws, that plan. Yeah. And some seem to be a bit more, I don't know, what's the word? They seem to run more, they scare more easily, right? Like the black horse I caught quite easily, but he just kept bucking. I must need more stamina for him. But there was one, I think it was like a checked kind of brown and whitish one. And I couldn't even get to him. I was stealth moding my way up to him. And maybe I need to take some food that has stealth properties, but he wouldn't let me get anywhere near him. So that's a freezing one, I think. I need to try that. I'll be giving that a go today. Any other, so maybe Trev or Kirk, since, anyone really, but there were some good horse stories. Any other interesting sort of stories like that? I've heard you can ascend through some weird things, I've heard as well. Has anyone tried this?
I don't have an ascend story, but this is not really a spoiler so much because I think Justin or Katie kind of talked about it a little last week, but this is sort of maybe a warning for you, Jemma, because you haven't done a dungeon yet. So you know how I think it was Justin who said basically Link's allies are kind of like the dungeon items.
Yeah.
So, but you do not need them to find a dungeon or even explore, as I found out kind of a difficult way with one of the dungeons. I got into it and I explored a huge portion of it until I realized I just could not manipulate any of the switches. So long story short, I had to go and find the allied character I needed. But unfortunately, even though I had done a huge chunk of the dungeon, there was no way for me to get back there except for going through this huge tornado thing again, which took forever and a day. So I'm like, why did they even let me go here? Because I'm still finding my way around. I'm like jumping out windows and climbing. And I'm like, this seems a little more difficult than I thought, but I'm making it work. And I was not meant to be there. So if you find something you think is a temple and you don't have a friend with you, run away.
Okay, thank you.
That's how I get to 120 hours. I spend dozens of hours in temples I'm not ready to be in.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that was like me at the very start when I was running around without a glider. Why would I do that? Why would I do that?
I can't even imagine.
Yeah.
I mean, I can, but...
Yeah, it's crazy. No, the ascend thing, apparently you can ascend through lots of different things, which I haven't tried, but one I do want to try because there's this cave with a new book. You guys have probably beaten it already because I think it's one of those initial crosses where you get some article of clothing and there's this stone kind of monster. I can't remember his name. And he's got a little blue thing on his back that you have to hit. But he just one-shots me. He just hits me and I'm dead. And I'm trying to jump on him. But I think you can actually ascend through him. If you stand under him and ascend, you can end up on his back and then you can whack his little vulnerable point.
That's neat.
Yeah. But has anyone tried that? Ascending through enemies or anything weird like that?
Oh.
No.
No.
There was one enemy. It's that box-looking enemy that's on.
It's in the sky, though.
Yeah, it's in the Sky Islands, but you can ascend through that. There's at least a phase of it where it goes above you to slam down to try and crush you, and you can just descend through it.
Oh, is it the one with the different boxes like a Rubik's Cube that moves around?
Yeah.
Or is it one big? Yeah, okay. I have seen him, or I've fought him.
It keeps transforming into different things.
Yeah, I did fight him. I mentioned him in the first Zelda podcast we did, but I didn't ascend through him. I didn't think to do that.
I do have one little ascend tidbit. I was listening to the show you did last week, and somebody asked about ascending out of the depths. You can do that.
Really?
Which I discovered by accident. I was just trying to get high, as high as I could, and I popped through the ceiling out into the overworld, and I accidentally hit exit. And then I'm like, oh no, I don't want to leave you out of that. I had to backtrack, but that is an option. And as you explore more of that area and light up more of that area, you'll start to see it's not really any more convenient than just warping out. But if you want to do it a different way, it's an option.
I guess that would only be like if the ceiling isn't too high, right? Because some of the areas of the depths, it's a really high ceiling, right? Like you can't even see the.
Oh yeah, it's very tall. And I just end up firing arrows like up with great seeds attached, and I'm like, this is just never ending. But at a certain point, you're so committed, you just have to keep trying because it's like I can't go down now. I'm so high up.
I was very surprised when I first fell down a chasm. I was like, man, this is going a ways. Like it was deeper than I thought the depths would be.
Same. Yeah, I had the same thought.
We actually ran around initially a lot before we even realized that we could light up portions. Like we were running in the dark, I think, until we found one of the Yiga platforms or whatever. And I'm like, there's some light over there. But we were literally running blind.
Oh, it's so hard when you don't light it up. It's so dark, like literally just black.
This was before we realized how expansive it was. We thought it was just like maybe like a cave type of thing. And then it's like, no, this just keeps, because we keep, falling in them, and we're like, is this a new one? And then it connects to the other one, and we're like, whoa.
Yeah, they're pretty intimidating, I think. Kirk, sorry, did you have something before you were going to say, before I kind of cut you off?
Oh, no, I don't think so.
Okay. Yeah, so again, I love how we all have such different experiences, and you can kind of make this game your own. And I really can't wait to see Justin's final review. To be honest, that's exciting to see. So,
I have a quick question for Justin, and I hope your answer is no. But did you rush through the game for review purposes, or were you just really keen to discover the dungeons?
Well, yeah, I did. I am moving through it quickly to try and for the review, right? Like I'm trying to So
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, and obviously I don't have to, right? I could just go at my pace. I'm trying to think. For Breath of the Wild, I think I played about 60 hours. I was looking at my play time for this one, and it's about 40 hours to when I finished Breath of the Wild and did some side stuff. Like I got all the towers, and I think I did all 120 shrines in that 60 or 65 hours.
Wow.
But
that's impressive.
Yeah, this time I haven't gotten near as many shrines, and so there's definitely just more. But I'm trying to see a lot of the game. There are similar elements to it, right? So I am like, oh, Korok seeds. Okay, I've seen those. I've experienced that. So I would get some just to get some inventory slots, but I'm not going out of my way if I see something that looks like a Korok seed. So I'm trying to see as much of the new things as I can. So I was doing a lot of stuff in the depths and and the dungeons. Again, or some of the key things that I mentioned in the Breath of the Wild review of wanting to see some improvements. And I think they're largely improved. I don't think they're fully what I want from a dungeon yet, but they're definitely an improvement over Breath of the Wild. So.
Yeah.
Step in the right direction.
Yeah.
Well, we would have had Jemma review it, but the review'd be up by Christmas. At the rate it's going.
Yeah. Well, I might have focused more on dungeons if I was reviewing it. It looks like online they're saying kind of the average time to complete if you're not a completionist is about 55 hours. And if you are a completionist, it's maybe 190 hours. So,
Wow.
yeah, that's a lot of time. So
If you get lost and just wander around, and
Yeah.
then it's, 300 hours?
yeah, 1,000. Because I'm similar to Justin. I'm about 40 hours in. So to know that I could have finished it in that time, but I haven't, no, that's okay.
Hey, it was a bit of a grind for some of that. So don't.
Yeah, well, you did pretty well. And I mean, I'm taking my time with it anyway. And like I said, I'm trying to enjoy it and sort of do the shrines and the glyphs and the sky towers first before I and level up, I guess. So I should aim for more than 12 hearts at the very least. By the sounds of it.
Yeah. At least if you have some armor, some clothing that you've upgraded at like a great variant, that's going to help for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've found one great fairy, but she wouldn't talk to me. She needed a band to play.
Yeah.
So I haven't quite figured out what to do there yet.
I found a couple, and I think there's multiple instruments, and so that was one reason why I didn't get any upgrades. I'm like, well, fine, I'm gonna just fight the boss without these upgrades.
Earlier I said things that you guys had mentioned last week, and something that you said, Justin, was that 3-headed dragon, the Gleeok, one of the Gleeoks.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was the same one or not. I saw two, but it may have been the same one. And one was when I was flying down from a sky island that I just finished exploring, and it was in the sky below me. And I was like, oh, should I go towards it? I didn't. I thought maybe that was a stupid idea. I wasn't sure how to attack it in the sky. So just kind of tried to avoid it. But then I saw it, I think it was the same one later, sitting on top of a big cliff, and it didn't see me. And I kind of just went away from it because it was scary. But when did you see it? Which was it in the sky, or was it on a rock? And did you end up coming back and finding it later?
Yeah. So I've seen 3 or 4.
Right.
I've tried to fight one of them. I thought better of it, but it was in the Colosseum. You know, the Colosseum from Breath of the Wild, basically that same area. But yeah, there's one in there, and I thought I was going to be clever. So this may be a interesting story or humorous story,
Cautionary
tale. So I was up on top of the rim of the Colosseum, and I look down, and I'm like, oh, there's a Gleeok down there. He doesn't see me. Maybe I can just, take some pot shots at him from here, So I start peppering him with some arrows, and he turns around and probably is like, really, you think you can beat me from up there? so he takes all 3 heads, and he fires laser. I think he was electric one or something. Fires lightning bolts, dead in one shot. And then I was like, I felt like when Homer was trying to invent things, where he's observing different things not working. He's like, let me try that. Try something else equally stupid. That was basically what I was doing. And so it kind of respawns you right near there. And I was like, what if I just jump in and go guns blazing, it was almost like if you were screaming and so I fly down there, and I do some of the slow motion arrows, and try to shoot him in the face. And I did get one of his heads detached, I think. And then I ran out of stamina, and I landed in front of him, and I'm like, well, now what? And then he destroyed it. So don't do either of those things.
Somewhere in between, maybe.
Yeah. Now you tell me.
Yeah. but
did he get his head back after you destroyed it?
Well, So I didn't survive long enough. But just like the Gleeok in the first Zelda game, when you get their heads off, the heads fly around and are still shooting stuff at you. So yeah, it is a similar thing where the head, like, just because you got the head detached, it's still in the fray. But
it's still dangerous.
Yeah, still very dangerous. Anyway,
I was right to avoid it then, I think.
Yeah. I think the Gleeoks are going to be like the new Lionels, I imagine. At least I hope the Lionels get superseded by another boss type. But
Have you encountered any, Kirk?
I've seen them. I have not attacked. I'm not a fighter.
Yeah, you're more of an explorer.
I'm a sneaky guy. I'm a shoot people from as far away as I can with an arrow and a bomb.
Yes, I love doing that.
Sorts itself out.
Yeah, my bomb supply is too low to do that all the time, though.
I'm perpetually low.
Yeah, I was going to ask if you had some areas where you knew there were. I mean, I know they're randomly in caves sometimes, so I get some there. I think I have like 10 at the moment, which is pretty good, but I kind of like hoard them. I don't want to waste them. But it's so fun and satisfying to just arrow a group of bokoblins with a bomb attached and just, oh my gosh, it's so satisfying. There was one sky tower actually that was surrounded by a camp of bokoblins. You've probably already been there, I don't know, but it took me a couple of goes. The first time I just couldn't get in. They just kind of sabotaged me or, attack me. But eventually I worked out, just bomb them with an arrow and just chaos ensues. Wearing the bokoblin mask does help as well. So that helps if you've got that. Remember we were talking about the guy who collects the frog gems, whatever they're called, the bulb gems. Yeah. I met him again. I've met him a few times now. But after he gives you a couple of good items, he starts giving you like toenails and things, which I think are useful to fuse. But I already had them from defeating an enemy. So I'm like, it's not that rare. I really would like something better from you.
Wait, what kind of toenails though? Like Hinox? Or?
Yeah, Hinox toenails. Yeah.
I love
a bunch of those. I feel like those are rare.
Kind of, yeah. But like I already beat 2 Hinoxes, and I have a bunch.
I only beat 1.
Yeah,
and I played 3 times as much as you, Jemma. Wow,
you have, yes.
I love this conversation. Like, only in a Zelda game are we like bartering for like what type of toenails you got? Are they Hinox toenails, or
Yes.
Is it Stalnox or?
Yeah, it's I'm just loving my time with it anyway. So before we move on to other games, because I was trying to think of a good analogy. It's been out for 3 weeks now, Tears of the Kingdom, and it sounds a bit negative to say that there's been a cloud and now the sun is peeking through, because Tears of the Kingdom has been awesome and fun, but I have felt like we've been a little bit enveloped, just in a good way, right? Like obsessed almost. I would say I've been a little bit obsessed, just thinking about it all the time, playing it every night. But it's like the world is still going on around us. There are other games coming out. It's not like everything just stopped while we played Zelda. So there are other titles that we're excited about as well. But before we kind of move on from Zelda, did anyone have anything else they wanted to sort of bring up about Tears of the Kingdom?
I agree with what you said, though. Like I'm looking at some of my tasks. And I'm especially mindful because Katie's here, and I'm like, oh yeah, I should have had magazine articles in like a month ago. Like, what happened in these past 3 weeks? And it was,
I know. It's a blur. It really is a blur. And that was one thing I got back to this week. I finished my magazine article, so that's done. Yes. And that was kind of like my awakening. It's like, I need to get back to reality a little bit here. So I'm still going to be playing Tears of the Kingdom in the background, though. Don't worry about that. So.
Yeah, and that's something I think I'll add. We've talked before about the JRPGs that I play and love and how complicated the combat systems are. Mm-hmm. So if you leave them for a bit, it's hard to get back into it because you got to remember all those little idiosyncrasies that you've set up and micromanaged for your party. Mm-hmm. And here, I think this is like the perfect game where like after the initial excitement is over and you've been playing it for 5 hours a day for 3 weeks straight. Once other games start to filter in, it's a very easy game to go back to because nothing is really complicated.
True.
You have multiple ways that you could do things. And And, some of the side quests, you may be like, what was I doing here? Where do I have to go? But the actual gameplay is very easy to just drop back into at any point. So, this is the kind of game where you can stretch it out over 3-4 months while you're playing other games and not have to worry about picking it back up.
That's a great point. Yes, very true. I agree with that. And I will be playing it for many, many months, I'm sure. Probably, as Trev said, a year if I was reviewing it. But yes.
I did. I'm sorry, Jemma. I got one more thing.
Go for it, please.
Listening to the show last week, and Kirk was saying, like, with the President Hudson guy, he's like, yeah, I fixed like 15, 20 signs. I'm like, what? I'm like, I haven't even done one.
Oh, really?
That's like, for me, those things are harder than like some of the temple bosses. I'm like, there's no way this sign can possibly fall down. It would defy physics. It bobbles just a little bit, and he's like, "Wah!" So I finally forced myself to do one, and it looked ugly as sin, but it stood up, and he was excited. So I'm like, all right.
Yeah. Well, the good thing is then he doesn't keep your structures up, so you're not reminded of your failures.
Yeah.
And Jen's like, how will they be able to read the sign with all these planks of wood you got?
Doesn't matter. It just has to not move for 5 seconds.
Yeah. I do appreciate that he moves them away.
Why can't just hold it?
Yeah.
Why do you have to build these things? Just stand there. Let the guy attach it.
No.
Going back to Simpsons references, I feel like Mr. Burns was trying to take a picture of like the school kids who were making fun of him, and he had his old-timey camera. He's like, now hold that position for the next hour.
Yeah, it's just like that. Yeah, I appreciate the fact that he doesn't keep our little sort of amalgamated structures there because, yeah, mine are hacked terribly together. So it's like, I just need it to hold. It doesn't have to look pretty. Come on. And I haven't done as many as Kirk, but I've done a fair few now. I keep running into him. After I said initially it took me, I think I said like 4 or 5 hours before I even found him the first time. I keep seeing him around now. So I must have done 6 or 7, I think. It's a fun little side quest. And like Kirk said, I don't leave him. If I see Addison, I go and help him. He gives you good rewards. I love what actually
Did you ever find out if that was really his name?
Yeah, I checked. I've been playing it, and I'm like, oh, we were right. Okay. It was Addison. So, cool. And sometimes he gives you bomb flowers. Actually, speaking of bomb flowers, I think he did give it to me once or twice.
Whoa! Spoiler! I only got 20 rupees.
You didn't get a recipe as well?
He should give you 3 things. I think he hands out 3 things.
Oh, that's right. He gave me like a puff shroom or something.
Yeah, it's always 20 rupees and then 2 other items.
Yeah,
like
usually
dish or something.
Rupees, a dish, and then an item, a cooking item, or not. Sorry, not a cooking item. You can't cook bomb flowers, can you? That would be disastrous. Trev probably has tried it. You're the cooking expert, I think.
No, I'm not. Unless you mean dubious food. Then maybe.
I'm an expert at cooking dubious food.
Yeah, I've loved cooking some food. I've loved experimenting with that as well and just coming up with different combinations and seeing some that give you heaps of hearts, like more hearts than I even have, and then others that give you 1.5. And it's like, oh, that was a waste. Probably the apples were worth more on their own than they were in that recipe, but...
You find yourself a lot of times, like if you're in a battle and your hearts get low, like I find sometimes if I'm looking through all my dishes I've made, I'm like, I can't decide. So I end up just like double fisting like 20 apples. Just like bang, 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 bang.
Yeah, I feel like Link would have a tummy ache after that, after 20 apples. Yeah, I do sometimes. Sorry, you go.
You know, as I do that too. Like if I get like 4 hearts like knocked off, I'm like, well, I don't want to use this whole recipe that gives me more than that. So I'm just gonna fist some apples and it'll be fine.
And if it's got like, some ability that I don't want to waste, like cold, cold resistance, I don't really want to waste it. I'm not in an area that needs that right now. So I don't want to eat that one. It's got like electrical resistance, but I'm not in an electrical area. There's no one attacking me with zapping electricity. I don't want to waste that one. So yeah, then I might just go apples. Maybe some steak as well, but I don't like to waste the steak. And I don't know how safe it is to eat raw steak as well. But anyway. Yes, well, clearly we could talk for hours about Zelda, but let's move on to something else. So let's talk first about, these are not really in any particular order. I thought maybe kind of release date-ish, but Pikmin 4 is the next big thing from Nintendo, which is not due out till July. And that's only actually a month and a half away now because it's the 21st of July. So it's sneaking up on us, 6 weeks away. And it is the focus of, speaking of magazines, as Trev mentioned, it is the focus of our next issue. I think Kirk's doing a nice cover story. I've done a character profile, and the cover itself will be Pikmin related. So how are we feeling about this? Are we all pretty excited? I'm a huge Pikmin fan. Who else among us is a Pikmin fan? I think maybe Justin, did you say
Yeah,
we're excited about this one?
I love Pikmin, and Katie's gotten on Pikmin. We're excited.
Yeah, I think it's going to be great. So we don't know a whole lot about it yet. I think we've had, was it one teaser and then one kind of trailer? Is that right? I think. Yeah.
Because it only got announced in September, right?
Yeah. So it's sort of, I mean, I think Miyamoto might have announced it or said it was in production a few years ago, if I remember correctly, but we hadn't seen or heard anything for ages.
Years and years ago.
Yeah, exactly. Just kind of, I guess, the case with Pikmin. We kind of wait a long time. It's one of those franchises that, I mean, it's only the fourth entry, I guess 5 if you include Hey Pikmin as well, but in the mainline series, the fourth entry over, I think it's 20 or 20-something years, right? It was like 2001, the first game. So we're talking...
Yeah, it was like GameCube launch.
Yeah. And, I mean, my experience with Pikmin, I really only got into it with Pikmin 3 and loved it, and have the Wii U version and the Switch version. Did we all play Pikmin 1 and 2? Who was into it from the very beginning?
I was.
Yeah? Yeah, cool.
Yeah, I have both. The original Pikmin I played on GameCube, but I didn't end up getting the second one till they re-released it on the Wii, like the new Play Control Pikmin. Yeah, and then I got 3 on the Wii U and then again on the Switch. You reminded me, though, I have not, even though I've owned the game for years, I have not played Hey Pikmin on the 3DS. Jen beat it. She liked it, but I don't know. I never get around to it, so I got to get around to it in the next, oh my goodness, month and change.
Yeah, it's really fun. I like Hey Pikmin.
Yeah, I like the demo. I don't know why I never get around to it, so I got to beat Zelda, beat my review games, Hey Pikmin.
I loved the change of pace because it's more of a platformer, so it's a different style to the usual kind of top-down planning strategy thing. And that's why I did myself a disservice, because I knew about Pikmin from the beginning, but I was like, I'm not really into these strategy kind of games. These kind of planning games where you have to, organize groups of things. Just wasn't really my style. But of course, Nintendo made it accessible and fun, and it's amazing. So I have missed out on Pikmin 1 and 2. I should go back and play those two. But yeah, I've spent a lot of time with Pikmin 3, and I'm sure I'll spend a lot of time with Pikmin 4. Kirk, what's your opinion? You haven't said anything about Pikmin.
Oh, I love Pikmin.
Yeah,
I played them all. I don't think I finished 2. 2's the one where it had all those caves, right? You kept going down into depths and depths and further and further and further.
Yeah.
Almost Zelda-like.
It was happening 2 years.
Yeah.
But I played all 3. I played Hey Pikmin. I didn't do the mobile app that they have for it.
I've got that. Yeah.
But yeah,
Pikmin
I have a cute quick story about when we had the GameCube and Sophie, my first daughter, was born. I was playing Pikmin, and when it was my turn to be with her, I developed a method of putting her on my lap so I could play Pikmin, and she was like car seat, like facing me, staring at my face while I was looking over her at the TV and playing Pikmin. and I think there's a way I could have maybe patented it as like the official video gaming chair for children, so you can keep an eye on them and your game at the same time.
Oh man.
That's awesome. I think there's always a story when you have a child, like a young child, maybe especially a first child, because I remember distinctly the games I was playing when my first Harrison was born. So yeah, I think it's a special time and a special memory, and hopefully it kind of rubs off on them, and they love the game that you were playing at the time or something like that. So, yeah, that's cute.
Yeah, they can see the joy on your face and hear the happy sounds and music in the background. And Pikmin's very cute, like almost like children's television cartoon kind of audio. So it seemed like
except when they get eaten, and then they let out that.
Yeah.
Well, it's still better than if I'd been playing like Duke Nukem.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah, don't do that with your kids. Yes, okay, cool. So I think we're all excited about Pikmin 4. We've only got 6 weeks to wait. We'll talk about it more in the coming weeks. The next one, I didn't know if Kirk knew anything about this one because you mentioned it earlier before the show, sorry, the AEW Fight Forever, which is out at the end of this month, June 29th. What do you know about this one?
I know quite a bit, although it's not because I'm a fan of this type of game. I'm not good at fighters. If you put two people up against each other and they're just punching and kicking, I'm always going to lose. But I am a huge fan of AEW, which is All Elite Wrestling, kind of the alternative wrestling league to WWE right now.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to me because one of the wrestlers, my favorite, named Kenny Omega, is a huge video game nerd, a self-professed video game nerd. And when he came into AEW, one of the things that was part of his contract, he says, is that he was going to be very much a part of the development of the video game.
Cool.
So he's been overseeing this. He chose the developer for it. He had a very distinct vision on which games he wanted it to be based on and play like. So it seems to me that because of that kind of love, that it may be something a little more interesting than what we get where it's just like a corporate brand hiring a company and these are the faces you're putting in it and go. This might be a little better. So I have higher hopes for it than I would for other games of this type.
Cool. That sounds really interesting. Yeah, I love that. That someone actually from the AEW is involved makes it seem like, yeah, there's a good chance it might be better than typically received. So is Fight Forever, is that like, what is that title? Is this a franchise or is this a new kind of thing? What's Fight Forever mean?
The phrase, I'm not sure which league or where it started. It's something that people chant. There's a story behind that, and my fellow wrestling friends will be annoyed with me that I can't remember it. But yeah, I'm assuming this will be the franchise name of the video game. So there will be like a Fight Forever 24, 25.
Okay.
As they go on.
Yeah. So has AEW put out games before?
They have a mobile game, which is kind of like a wrestling management sim. And then there's like a casino type game where I didn't even download that, so I don't know much about it. But yeah, so this is their first. It's been in development for 3 years now, I think,
right.
4 years. It's developed by a company called Ukes, I think is how that's pronounced. They've done some of these type of games in the past, so
cool.
and it's coming out for all platforms. I'll be curious to see. I've seen a lot of screenshots that look like they're pretty good, but I don't know if they're Switch. So we'll have to wait and see how it looks there.
Nice. So I look forward to hearing more from you when it comes out, whether it lives up to that expectation. Hopefully. Yeah. And another game that's out this week, actually, which is Etrian Odyssey Origins Collection. I just thought that that was a highlight in this week's eShop roundup from Nintendo. And I know we've talked about, I know because it's kind of RPG related, and so I thought Kirk might know about this, but maybe Trevor knows more. What do we know about this one?
Yeah, well, I was excited when they announced it. I haven't played all of the prior ones on DS or 3DS, but I played a couple, and I was curious about how they'd bring it to the Switch because it's so designed around, the dual screen, touchscreen setup. But anyway, long story short, I had asked Kirk if he heard anything because we both kind of team up with, review coverage and whatnot. But funnily enough, Kirsty had gotten an email, and Ever the Professional, she forwarded to me. She's like, hey, I don't know if you're interested in this. I'm like, oh, yeah. I'm like, let's see what we can do. So long story short, we did just get codes for the 3 games.
Cool.
They're individual, not as a bundle. But so she's going to take a couple, and I'm going to take one. And yeah, hopefully by next podcast, maybe I don't want to commit. Maybe we'll have an update when the review's going to publish.
Yeah, sounds good.
But they're good. They're an acquired taste, even more so than a lot of other games. But yeah, I'm looking forward to see what they've done. Great soundtracks these games have, and I hear they got some remastered numbers. So
nice. So it's not just a port. This is actually like it's made for the Switch kind of thing.
Yeah, it's from what I gathered, which isn't a lot. It's like it is like a port, but it does have some like extras.
Yeah,
so not a reimagining, but like an update.
Cool. Okay.
But it's just good because I hate to see the series kind of die with the dual screen handhelds.
Yeah,
it deserves to go on.
So is it the first 3 games? Because there's an Etrian Odyssey 4, isn't there?
Yeah, there's quite a few, and then some spin-offs as well. I don't know if they're gauging to see how sales are. It's funny, these games, if you break down by individual game, it's a fair price, especially since the DS and 3DS games are up there in value, but as a whole collection, it is pretty expensive. It's more than Tears of the Kingdom. So,
oh wow,
it's like objectively speaking, it's fair, but as a gamer, I'm like, I want a sale, so I don't know. I'll have to see what happens.
Yeah, okay, interesting. Oh well, yeah.
But the Atlas games do tend to go on sale, so I think
in
the first month or whatever, they'll get the early adopters, and then people will wish list it for a sale, and then it'll probably get some good discounts.
Okay. Yeah. So if you're a fan, or maybe not a hardcore week 1 fan, maybe keep an eye out for a sale. That's interesting because and Kirsty's taking 2. I assume these are pretty decently long games.
They are. Because originally we were talking, she's like, since they're a trilogy, should I just take them? I'm like, these are huge. I'm like, because I reviewed one of the 3DS ones, and I put like 30 hours into it before I put my review up, and I feel like I didn't do enough almost. But
yeah, that's what I thought. I mean, my experience is pretty limited. I think I played. Was there a demo for one of them? Maybe Etrian Odyssey 4.
There was a few demos, I think, on the 3DS shop.
I've definitely tried it, but I haven't taken on a full-fledged outing for this. So yeah, interesting. Okay, well that's going to keep Kirsty very busy for a little while, and you as well, I suppose.
Yeah, maybe I'll catch another cold and be able to miss a couple of days.
I know, I keep thinking of that. I'm like, oh, geez, I almost want a cold so that I can just spend a week with Tears of the Kingdom. but I shouldn't jinx myself. That's not good, right? So you don't really want to be sick. I remember when I had COVID last year, I couldn't play. Like I was sick and I was home and I had nothing better to do, but I was just too sick to play games. I wasn't in the mood. I'm like, that's not good. I don't want to be so sick that I can't play games. So let's put it that way.
Yeah, stick with the sniffles and you should be okay.
Mm-hmm. Yes, well, thank you for that update on Etrian Odyssey Origins. Another one that we're interested in, which is out right now, I believe, which is Super Mega Baseball 4. And I thought Justin might know about this because he's a Mega Baseball fan.
Yeah.
What do you know about this one, Justin?
So, yeah, I'm a big baseball fan, as you guys know. And the Super Mega Baseball franchise as well. I never played the first game, but I think the second game was the first one on the Switch, and then they came out with the third one on the Switch as well. And this is the first one that they're releasing since being acquired by EA. So EA acquired Metalhead Software. And the key things that are different this time, I do have a review copy. I've been trying to work it in and amongst Zelda, as you can imagine. But
yeah.
They've added 200 licensed like MLB players, kind of like Legends players. So
cool.
No like current players. So it's not like a licensed game like MLB The Show, or even the previous one that they had on the Switch that was like RBI Baseball, where that had like the real Major League Baseball teams and players. This is still, kind of the colorful characters that they have. Even like it's a very stylized baseball game, so it's more arcadey.
Is it like NBA Jam, like the NBA Jam of baseball?
Yeah, it is similar to that. So it's still like a fairly accurate simulation of baseball, and sometimes even like again, like on the Switch, prior to MLB The Show, I would have said like it's the best simulation of baseball on the Switch, but MLB The Show obviously is kind of leading the charge on the true simulation side of the baseball sport, but Super Mega Baseball is it's very accessible, and you're going to get like a much better visual fidelity in the game since it's kind of going for a simpler art style. The frame rate's really fast. Like I feel like the MLB The Show ports for the Switch have been, they don't have quite the frame rate that they do on the other consoles. Certainly, the novelty of being able to play portable with MLB The Show physics and all of that is great, but there are some sacrifices there. But so I think Super Mega Baseball can still shine quite a bit in its own right on the Switch. And yeah, so
cool.
So still playing through that. But.
Yeah. When was Super Mega Baseball 3? How long ago was that?
So that was, I think it was almost 3 years ago.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So this has been quite a bit, obviously, COVID and all of that. Yeah. So Super Mega Baseball 3 was May 13 of 2020. So it's almost exactly 3 years, a couple weeks different. So, and again, the company did get acquired in that time. So,
true.
And then we're working on what could they bring to the franchise. They said they have quite a bit of licensed music for it now.
Cool.
And again, adding those kind of Legends players that you can kind of mix with the the current kind of fun, backyard baseball type of players. Anyways,
by Legends, do you mean like? And I don't know much about baseball, being in Australia, but from The Simpsons, I do know some names like Darryl Strawberry, for example. Yes. Is he considered? Is that?
Yeah. I don't know. I haven't seen Darryl Strawberry yet, but yeah, it's like recent. Not necessarily people that are in the Baseball Hall of Fame, but they're like former major league players.
Okay.
So like I saw Joe Mauer and Big Papi, David Ortiz. Pitchers and all.
I've heard of Ortiz.
Yeah, and so they've got 200 of them. So there's quite a bit, and I think they even have some legends. I think I want to say like Babe Ruth and like Hank Aaron and some of them.
Oh, that's like super old legends, right? Babe Ruth.
Yes,
going back a ways.
So maybe we could try to recreate the nuclear power plant team.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
I was reading your interview, Justin. I didn't see you ask him that. So
yeah.
Well, so I actually did ask them, but the characters that I asked for, they didn't have. So
okay, fair enough.
Yeah, they did have. They do have Hank Aaron, he's probably my favorite player of all time. He's awesome. Ozzie Smith, Raleigh Fingers, Willie Mays, Babe Ruth, George Brett, Mike Messina, Jose Bautista, Bartolo Colon, Billy Wagner, Vladimir Guerrero, David Ortiz. Those are the headliners.
But are you reading them, or are they just off the tip of your tongue? Are you just like?
I'm reading from a list here.
I was like, that's impressive. I'm like, you know your players.
Those are the ones
that Ozzy got out of the bottomless pit there and.
Yeah,
at the Springfield tourist spot.
Right. Yeah, Ozzy Smith will have. I don't know if they're going to have like Jose Canseco because he had the steroids.
Yeah.
So, anyways, so they might not have some of them. I think Roger Clemens also had some of that steroid scandal. So I don't know if it's going to be in it. But yeah, it does say 240 legends. So,
wow. Okay.
So
are you into baseball, Katie? Is this something you share a passion with Justin, or is this just Justin?
This is just Justin. I mean, I enjoy baseball, but I don't think I would have watched baseball if it was by myself. Or
yeah,
do it myself.
Cool. Yeah. I love the name Super Mega Baseball. It sounds like a Super Nintendo game to me. You know how everything was super back then in the 90s.
Oh, yeah.
It's
and they even
cool
had they had like a super baseball game, I think.
Yeah.
Because like the original Nintendo had just baseball, right? And then they did Although my favorite on the NES, I love the Bases Loaded series. Bases Loaded was really
yes.
and they had a Bases Loaded on the Game Boy, original Game Boy, and that I played so much of that. Like in a baseball game portably like that. Oh, it was such a novel thing.
Wow, awesome.
Anyway, so,
they need to bring that onto the Switch Online.
SMB4 does kind of it scratches that itch of like, hey, I want a quick, fun, arcade like baseball game. So it scratches that itch.
Well, that sounds good. I look forward to hearing more about that when your review is ready. Thank you. The other thing that I wanted to bring up, which I don't know a whole lot about, to be honest, but this week we did hear a little bit of random piece of news from Nintendo that they are releasing a sequel to none other than 1-2 Switch, which was a surprise, I think, for everybody in the entire world. So, and this was one of the launch titles for the Switch, and it's kind of like to show off the Joy-Cons, right? It's like a multiplayer game that, you can do what is like a Western shootout. You can do, I think there was a samurai one. I think we all probably played it at some point when we first got a Switch. But a sequel, thoughts? Who wants to go first? Maybe who's not spoken for a while? Kirk or Katie, somebody? What do you guys think of this? Is this something we're excited about, or just like, what does it mean in terms of the Switch's life cycle? Are we speculating that it's wrapping up?
Well, I'll let Katie go because I don't have any interest whatsoever.
Okay. Fair enough.
I don't think I actually played the first one.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Did we own it? I thought we owned it briefly.
I don't remember it at all. I remember it. That's interesting. And that's all I can remember about it.
Yeah. I do remember, I think we did have it because it was like there wasn't a lot at launch, right? Like it was really, it was Breath of the Wild and that was,
1-2 Switch.
Because I think even ARMS came out like a month or two later. Like it was like an April or May game. So I think we had it for a little bit, but it didn't really last very long in like our game night group. It was kind of like, oh, this is kind of interesting. It felt, I mean, coming off of something like Wii Sports, like Wii Sports was just so iconic in the Wii era and people loved it. Like it was just immediately just so accessible and fun. And 1-2 Switch just felt like they felt at times like Wii Sports, like each one of those games in there was like a full experience, right? Like you could play tennis for dozens of hours, right? And you could play online, you could play multiplayer, like, baseball, bowling, all of that stuff had plenty of depth to them. But with 1-2 Switch, it was like, okay, you're going to hold your Switch next to your waist like it's a gun, and you see, and it says draw, and you like fire, right? You hit it first to be to hit a button or something. So it felt like even like almost like WarioWare micro games.
Yeah, like it did.
But it didn't even have as many, like if it, like WarioWare does a good balance because it's like, it has a ton of them, right? There's a ton of micro games. And then you've got Mario Party, which has mini games, which would be probably a little bit bigger than micro games. And there's a decent amount of those. So I don't know, it just felt the whole package with 1-2 Switch was not super impressive. The one impressive thing with it was where it was using the HD Rumble and like the ball that it felt like there was a ball that was rolling around in there. Do you guys remember that?
Oh yeah.
That was a really interesting, but it seemed like one of the few things. Oh yeah, you had like multiple balls that were rolling around. You had to guess how many were in there. That was interesting, but it was like, I don't know.
Yeah, it was a good concept. I mean, I think the games were fun in themselves, but they were very short-lived. And like you said, there weren't many of them. Yeah. It might have been better to just come packaged with the Switch rather than a game that you had to pay $50 or whatever, $40. I don't know how much it was, but it wasn't like it was $10. It was, something decent. And it was supposed to show off the Switch. So maybe if it just came pre-installed or something, just a few mini games to kind of show off, and just in between maybe Breath of the Wild or whatever we were playing back then. Maybe Bomberman? Was Bomberman?
Yeah, Bomberman was the launch, yeah.
Yeah, which I was a bit disappointed in as well. But anyway, so what do we know about the new one? Do we know if it's got more games or interesting concepts? I haven't really heard too much except that there's a horse on the title screen or something. I don't know. We're milking horses now or trapping them like Zelda. I don't know.
They do have an official website for it. It's going to be $30 this time.
Okay.
So
is that comparable to how much was the lot? Do we know?
I think it was 40 or 50. I want to say, it was actually
cheaper.
fairly significant. Now, the interesting thing in this Everybody 1-2 Switch is it says you can use smartphones. So,
okay. Interesting.
So I don't know if you guys have played the Jackbox party games.
Yeah.
Like those use like a combination of, people can just connect on their smartphone, and that's kind of cool. Like it makes it pretty accessible, right? People come over, and they're like, "Oh, I don't have a Switch, but everybody's got a smartphone," so they can go to a web browser and play. But yeah, my expectations are low for it. We did there were some rumors about this game a year and a half ago or 2 years ago. And the rumors at the time were that the play testing for it was going very poorly. That Nintendo was like internally trying to figure out what to do with the game. That it was not in a state that they wanted it to be. Now, so some people are like, oh, it was that way 2 years ago, so it's in the same state now, and Nintendo's just shoving it out there, right, just to release it to die. But I don't think Nintendo. I don't think like nothing has happened on that game in the last 2 years, right? Like, yeah, play testing was bad, and that was a legit thing 2 years ago. I would think Nintendo has tried to resolve some of those concerns and address them, and But
I imagine so. Yeah, it sounds like it would have been good 2 years ago because this sounds like a game that would have done well during COVID. When we're all in lockdowns and not going out and things like that. Especially with the phone connectivity, because we were all playing those. Sorry, I am terrible with names. Is it Jack? What's the
Jackbox?
Jackbox. That's it. Yeah. We were all playing those kinds of things, remotely. Like I was connecting with friends because I couldn't see them in real life, and I know you guys have your games nights as well. So maybe you were doing something similar, but. Yeah, it might have been good back then. So maybe they've missed the boat a little bit. Or maybe it's just, let's get it out before we end the Switch. I don't know. So, I mean, it's probably, I would assume it's going to be better than the first one just because they've had more time to finesse whatever they're doing. And I don't know what those issues are that they had 2 years ago with their user testing, but I would assume the same thing that you said, that surely they've ironed out as many of those as possible. Nintendo still has a reputation to hold, so they're not going to put out complete garbage, I would hope, but time will tell. Is there a release date for this? Do we know?
Yeah, so June 30.
That's pretty soon. End of this month. Okay.
So it's this month, and that's why some people are like, "Oh, they're releasing it to die. They know it's bad." Blah, 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 But I think Nintendo, what they learned maybe with even Tears of the Kingdom is you can keep people's expectations in check if you. Like Nintendo shadow dropped a game which they've never done, like at least a game of that caliber, like shadow dropping Metroid Prime Remastered. Granted, they've done little digital titles here and there that they've shadow dropped before, but that was a huge new thing for them to do. And I could see them doing more of that type of thing. Like, hey, why have if this game was announced 8 months ago and I don't know, like, I think it's smart of them to just say, hey, it's coming out this month. There you go.
Yeah.
Expectations are like, oh, well, let's see. I could actually see some reviewers being like maybe surprised by it. Like, oh, I had zero expectations for this. This thing it came out of nowhere, but there's actually some good stuff in it. You know what I mean? Like it has the potential for something like that. But
especially being a little bit cheaper, I think as well helps. And if they've got more games and more interesting games, who knows? Who knows? Time will tell. Trev or Kirk, you're not interested. Trev, do you have any final opinions on 1-2 Switch or whatever it's called? Everyone Switch?
Well, I also never played the original.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm.
So put me there with Kirk and possibly Katie.
Sounds like it. Yeah. Just Justin and I will play.
In fact, if you go back, if you're a pure Nintendo history buff, if you go back and listen to one of our cast around the time of the Switch unveiling, you'll hear me say some negative. I did not like the Switch unveiling or even the launch because I was playing Breath of the Wild on the Wii U, and I'm like, oh, there's like nothing here. It's like there's this $50 mini game collection that looks like I couldn't believe. Like you, I thought it would have been a pack-in or maybe bundled with a Joy-Con controller or something.
Yeah,
I'm like, they want $50 for this. This is like their launch window game. I don't know. So yeah, I never picked it up, and I've got unsurprisingly little interest in this. I'll be waiting for Pikmin, but I'm not wishing it to fail or anything. Obviously, I want it to find an audience. I want to be surprised. So yeah, that's about all I got to say.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Well, I think only time will tell, and we'll see, and we'll be able to, in a couple of weeks' time, we'll know more whether we review it ourselves, I don't know, or whether we just hear about it on the line. Time will tell.
I have to remember to request it because it was a surprise announcement, so I got to make sure I get our request done.
Yeah. Well, hopefully you can find someone to review it. I'm suggesting Kirk. So
I'll give it a fair shake. I'm nothing if not fair.
That's true. Yes.
I was thinking I picked Katie, and then maybe it'd ring a bell when she started playing. I'd be like, oh, yeah.
I remember this. Yeah.
But I'll take it if they also send one of those new pastel Joy-Con that they've announced.
Oh, yes. They do look cool. I did see those. Yeah, they look cool.
That would be the way to do it. Bundle one of those, and then it would fly off the shelves.
Yeah, I'd get that.
Like they did with Wii Play, right?
Yes, they did. That's right.
Why it was a bestseller. It's because of the Wii U.
Yep. That's true. That is a good point.
Opportunity. Like they could boost the sales quite a bit if it came with some Joy-Cons.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we all need new Joy-Cons because they die. So
they drift.
They drift. Although I'm loving my Tears of the Kingdom Pro controller. it's very cool.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
I'm loving that.
I think I'm going to start using the word drift as a euphemism for die going forward.
Okay. Yeah. It's a little nicer.
Did you fall off that mountain? Controller drifted.
Bad news, the cat drifted away while you guys were going to school.
Aww. Sad emoji.
Oh, yeah, it didn't happen. I don't mean to bring anyone down at the end here. That was
just an example of how you could use it in real life context. Yeah. Thank you, Kirk, for that. Okay. Well, that probably brings us to the end of the show, I think, unless anyone else has something else to add before we close off. Any final parting comments? Did you have anything you wanted to say to farewell us, Justin?
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah. Yeah. Thanks again, Jemma, for leading out. This is awesome. Thanks, Kirk.
My pleasure.
And Trev and Katie. And we'll keep playing some Zelda. I'm sure everybody's still reading through that. And we'll, and if you guys get the new baseball game, let us know. I'll play online.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see you guys next time.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for listening. As we mentioned earlier, we're working on our next issue of the magazine. So if you would like to support us, please head over to patreon.com/Pure Nintendo. We'd love your support. We love what we do, and we love talking about all things Nintendo. So thank you, everyone, for joining me this week. And until next week, game on, everybody.
Bye.